media coverage. One of the things that struck me when I planned for all of these indictments was the gap really between what was going on in the Gulen movement, newspapers and websites after the raids, saying what the police had found and what actually happened was said in the indictments they found. So you had a lot of very incriminating evidence, according to the reports in the Gulen newspapers. Actually, when you saw the police reports, very little of that was actually found. Defamation campaigns against those who criticised the Gulen movement, including one against me. They tried to stop me talking to Washington about these cases. Were all done by the Gulen movement. And some of those, of course, I have a certain patina of protection in Turkey as a foreigner, less like men throw me out, and they're less likely to put me in prison. My Turkish colleagues are not so fortunate. Some of those accused of Gulen movement ended up inside and being accused of membership of Ergenekon. All of the police and prosecutors involved in these cases were just about the same personnel. And when I come, faster, but when I come to the Gulen-Erdogan power struggle, we'll see what I mean. As I said, there is a smoking gun. It's not just a supposition. On the 7th of March 2009, NCO was caught in a military base in Kayseri trying to put USB, data from USB onto one of the military computers. A military prosecutor was given the case because it's a military personnel. A guy called Ahmet Zeki Puchok. Bolter provided a handwritten confession detailing how he'd been recruited by the Gulen movement when he was a student, how they told him to join the military, to lie low, not to make a fuss, not to attract attention to himself, and when the day came, they would ask him to do something. He described how in February 2009, that day came, two members from the movement came and gave him a USB stick and told him to put the documents on the computer. As soon as the Gulen movement heard of this confession, they started a defamation campaign against the military prosecutor. They got hold of his credit card receipts. One, for example, from the supermarket, he bought a lot of food. So the Gulen movement's media outlets said he was entertaining Russian prostitutes. Not that he had friends around who were just feeling hungry out there. Then they began to say that Balta must have been beaten up into confessing. But there was no sign of damage on Balta's body. In summer 2009, they shifted tack and started saying Balta must have been hypnotized. He was released. Puchok was charged with extracting the confession using hypnosis. In April 2010, a forensic report, I have a copy of this, and it's one of the most imaginative and carefully worded documents I think I've ever seen. This is 1 year after the confession that they examined him for signs of hypnosis, and they said there was no sign that he hadn't been hypnotized. That was taken as enough evidence to imprison Puchok, who is currently in prison serving a 7-year jail sentence. Just something very briefly, because I think I'm already going over my time. How does this play into the Erdogan-Gulen power struggle? As lots of you will know, though the Gulen and Erdogan, they come from different traditions really within the broader Turkish Islamist movement, and going back 20 years, actually rival traditions. They formed an alliance of convenience in 2001 when the AK Party was founded. And these cases, of course, were directed primarily against the Gulen movement's opponents and critics, but those also very often happen to be the AK parties in terms of Erdogan's critics and opponents as well. So they were shared enemies, so Erdogan had no reason to try to get more involved. However, everybody knew that Erdogan, and we're getting closer to it now, Erdogan always wanted to be president, introduce a presidential system, concentrate all power in his own hands. The fear of the Gulen movement was that when he did that, he would turn against them. So they decided with a preemptive strike. They got together a case against Hakan Fidan, the head of MIT, the main Turkish intelligence organization. Essentially, he was issued with a summons, essentially accusing him of allowing members admit to cooperate with the PKK. This galvanized Erdogan. Also in December 2011, a listening device was found in Erdogan's office. So Erdogan realized he was being listened to. In November 2013, Erdogan announced plans, he'd been talking about it for some time. He announced concrete plans to close down what's called the Dershane system. This system, the education system is changing in Turkey now, but previously there was a single nationwide university entrance exam. For reasons which I've never been able to understand, the curriculum in Turkish schools doesn't exactly match what you need to know for this university entrance examination. So in order to have a chance of passing, you need to go to grammar schools on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, all day. It's quite barbaric for 2 years for these poor kids before they have their university entrance exam. A large proportion, including all of the best ones, of these so-called dersanes, these grammar schools, are controlled by the Gulen movement. Very useful in terms of income, even more useful in terms of recruiting. They identify bright kids, provide them with scholarships, sometimes places to stay, what they call in the movement lighthouses, and sometimes even a stipend for their basic expenses. See them through university, and then that way they get them into the movement. Balta, the guy I mentioned, the NCO, he also came through this system, recruited from a Dershane, then stayed in what they call the lighthouse, so basically a apartment controlled by the Gulen movement before he joined the military. So Erdogan going out to the system is really cutting at the Gulen movement's roots. The Gulen movement hit back on the 17th of December last year with initially one case against alleged corruption, probably the AK Party, as all of the other governments, to be fair, and time on being in Turkey, there is corruption now in the government circles. The very large case was initiated. A lot of close associates of Erdogan and the other leaders of the AK Party were taken into custody, again in early morning raids, again followed by claims in the Gulen newspapers about all of the very incriminating evidence that has been found. Even the personnel, the famous prosecutor Zerekere Us, who led the Ergenekon case, he was also involved in this. Another one, thank you, Gulen, Christmas Day 2013, which was an old time on the internet and on the telephone. Another corruption probe against some of Erdogan's associates. This time Erdogan gets back. December 2013, January of this year, he begins to remove suspected Gulen sympathizers from the police and judiciary. It's difficult to give precise figures because the only figures we have are the people who were reassigned. But of course, it's a bit like musical chairs. In any organization, if you remove somebody, they have to move other people to fill that space left by them. But certainly as a result of these purges, thousands of people in the police and the judiciary have been assigned to new posts. As you'll also be aware, the Gulenists then launched a defamation campaign on the internet, incriminating voice recordings, where does that sound familiar, and also some documents they put out on the internet, trying to incriminate Erdogan. Nevertheless, in the local elections on the 30th of March, AK Party won with a comfortable majority. Erdogan believes, I think probably correctly, seen off the challenge from the Gulenists, and he's increased his purges. Just for my last slide, Erdogan, as I said there, went to a lot of trouble. As soon as he thought the Gulen movement was targeting him, we have all of these purges. But when you run down these other cases, which targeted people who were Erdogan's opponents and enemies, nothing with the sex tapes, no investigation about this poor guy, Emre Küçükakça. Uçok, the military prosecutor, still in prison. Ballo's a sledgehammer. We've just had some movements yesterday and today. Yesterday, the Constitutional Court ordered a retrial. Today, this afternoon, we've had the first releases of some of those people. But they're going to be retried. This is not, they have not been common cases now waiting to go to appeal. Audit TV is one of the others I put up. These next few, actually, the others I put up at the beginning. These other cases. These cases are all continuing. So we still haven't seen any resolution. Just to say, there's a couple of lines in conclusion. I've gone way over the time. When you step back from this, I talked about this case a couple of weeks ago, and somebody said, are you saying that there's no rule of law in Turkey? And unfortunately, I think this is the only conclusion we can really draw from these cases. Not least from the huge contrast between the way that Erdogan reacted when the Güleniz was active and how he hasn't really reacted when it was after the proceedings.
Fallout between Gülen and Erdogan and possible role of the Kurdish question in this, and I'll try to end with a couple of thoughts on presidential elections. Polarization is one of the most important keywords to understand the current state of politics in Turkey, but it's also the main hurdle that prevents people from outside as well as inside from comprehending the country. There are very few journalists or academics among the vast media environment in Turkey that manage to stay above the polarization in the society. Very few journalists have, analysts have access to the ruling party, the AK Party, the PKK, the main opposition, CHP, and Gülen at the same time. Most Turkish journalists spend their life cut off from many sectors of the society, and they see and explain the world as they perceive it from within their group. This is the case for pro-AK Party journalists as well as anti-AK Party ones. It's therefore difficult to get a balanced view